You need to go to the
No,
audio
I listened
studio to have
perfectly.
your
I'm just
stop
surprised
talking
at what
if
I
you
was
want me to
hearing.
answer the question.
I was surprised
Stop
at what I was
talking if you
hearing.
want me to answer the
Carry
question.
on.
I said he donated illegally to Joe Biden. Did you not hear that?
I heard you say that one of the three bits of evidence that this is a scam.
Why did you skip over that and then change my words into his daughter voted Democrat? I mean, that's just propaganda.
No,
Sebastian Gorka goes on the LBC to completely annihilate this chump over here.
Admits he has done something wrong is the day I will start listening to what he says. If the American voters put him back in the White House, what does that say about then? Brain-dead morons springs to mind, says Laura in Wiltshire. Let's get a view from the Donald Trump camp, shall we? Response to tonight's event. Sebastian Gorka joins us, former deputy assistant to the president under Donald Trump. Sebastian, good to have you back on the programme tonight. Thank you very much for your time. Your boss is a convicted felon. How do you feel? Evening.
I'm just shocked. I used to love LBC when I grew up in West London, and then you read listeners' messages like Laura that calls a nation of 300 million people morons. What kind of bigots listen to LBC today? That's a little bit disturbing.
I've read some supporting your former boss as well, Sebastian, but you weren't listening.
I mean, 74 million Americans voted for my boss, but they're all morons. That's a little bit, undemocratic, isn't it?
It's not undemocratic to read out a range of views. I've read some text supporting him.
To have the attitude.
That's Laura's view. She's entitled to
call a whole nation moron.
I thought you were pro freedom of speech.
It's just really. It's not the LBC.
But I thought you. Well, that's probably why you got a lot more listeners. I thought you were pro freedom of speech.
Oh, I am, but I don't platform bigots.
Really?
Yes, because I don't platform big. Do you?
Some would say you worked for one.
Sorry, you just did. You just did.
Some would say you worked for one.
Yeah, the guy who now has the majority of the Hispanic vote. Don't waste my time, Ben.
Let's come back.
The majority of Hispanics.
Let's come back to the question.
The majority of Hispanics in America are voting for President Trump. Right, he's the bigot. Good one. Try another one.
Well, I try the question I first asked you, which is your former boss is now a convicted felon. How do you feel about it?
I'm outraged, but I'm also kind of like the Janus. I'm smiling on my other face. Why? Because this way he's strolling back into the White House. I mean, the one thing you can say about the Democrats, they're evil sons of bitches, but they're also stupid. I mean, this way he strolls back into the White House. Already during the 5 months of the trial, he was winning in every battleground state. He had a rally. I'm sure you saw the footage in New Jersey recently. New Jersey is one of the most Democrat states of the union. We had 100,000 people at the rally, not in Texas, in New Jersey. So they've crossed the Rubicon. They've shown themselves for the police state tactic thugs that they are. So, they've probably sealed his election victory with this decision.
I mean, this aged like fine wine, didn't it? Trump got reelected. It goes without saying. Sebastian Gorka is 100% correct. What do you think about what he has to say so far? Sound off in the comment section below. Let's continue.
Will make it more likely than less
that
Donald Trump becomes president once again. Why?
Utterly. Just look at the fact pattern in the last 9 months. Every time they indicted him, he grew in popularity, whether it was that garbage case in Georgia, whether it was the classified documents case in Florida. Every time they indicted him, he raised more money. In one day, 3 weeks ago, he raised $54 million in 24 hours. Every time they come after him, he goes up in the polls and he raises more money. This is how driven they are by hatred. They're not logical anymore. They're just driven by bile. That's the Democrat Party.
What's your evidence, Sebastian, for saying that this is a sham, that this was a political witch hunt?
Well, where shall I begin? First, you can read the article on my Substack that published yesterday. I was in the courtroom with President Trump last week. Let's start with a couple of things. One, Merchan, the judge, in contravention of the laws of the state of New York, donated not only to Joe Biden's political campaign, but to an anti-Trump PAC. That is illegal. A judge on the bench in New York cannot donate to a political campaign. Secondly, his daughter, Lara Merchan, has just raised $93 million for the Democrats, including the vice president, Kamala Harris. And she's raising it off her father's trial. And then, let's do one more. How about the fact that 48 hours ago, never before done, ever in a felony criminal case, the judge said to the jury, you know that thing about 12 of you agreeing on the guilty charge? Forget that. If 4 of you agree on one of the charges and then another 4 of you agree on one of the other charges, I'll take that as unanimous. Wink, wink. It's a travesty. It's a circus. It's a farrago. And the good thing is, Ben, most Americans see through it.
And Americans did see through it. The judge told the jury these weird rules where it's like, well, you don't even have to agree that he's guilty for the same charge. You could just pick one, say he's guilty, and then that's unanimous. If Trump was really such a bad dude, why would they have to do that? Sound off in the comment section below. Smash that like button if you're enjoying what Sebastian Gorka has to say so far. Let's continue.
One of the 3 main bits of evidence for this being a sham is the fact that the judge's daughter, one of the judge's daughters, votes Democrat.
Are you thick in the ear? Did I say voted Democrat?
Supports
I said
the Democrats.
Raised $93 million.
But that's so tenuous,
for the
Sebastian.
Democrats.
You must realize how tenuous that sounds.
So
the judge's daughter fundraised for the Democrats.
Do you need to go to the audio
I listened perfectly. I'm just surprised at what I was hearing.
To answer the question.
I was surprised at what I was hearing.
If you want me to answer the question.
Carry on.
I said he donated illegally to Joe Biden. Did you not hear that?
Mm-hmm. I heard you say that one of the 3 bits of evidence that this is a scam.
So why did you skip over that and then change my words into his daughter voted Democrat? I mean, that's just propaganda.
No. I repeated one of the 3 bits of evidence
I never said she voted Democrat.
Which was that she fundraised for the Democrats. It's tenuous. It's conspiratorial nonsense, Mr. Gorka.
I said he broke the law by donating to Joe Biden. And then you say she voted Democrat. That's silly. You're just being silly.
Do you ever...
I'm getting more familiar with Sebastian Gorka with these videos that I cover of him, but man, I love that he just calls these people straight out to their face and just points out how ridiculous they sound.
Stop for a moment and just think, do you know what? Maybe my former boss, maybe he's not all I thought he was. Maybe he lied. Maybe he is guilty. Do you
ever stop? Do you ever stop and think maybe I should be a journalist?
Sebastian, that's a genuine question. Does it ever? Have you weighed this up?
It's a stupid question.
It's not a stupid question.
I wouldn't have been his deputy. I wouldn't have 3.5 million people listening to my radio show every single day. I wouldn't have the positions I have in the White House, in the American
I'm just trying to get at whether
if I thought, ooh, clutch at my pearls. Come on, man.
What I'm trying to get at is whether you trust him implicitly or whether you believe he has given reason to trust.
Absolutely.
You trust him you don't question it.
I trust him because I know who he is. I worked for him. It's like, do you trust your friends or are you a scumbag, Ben?
Well, if my friend said something that I thought sounded untrue, I would weigh up the evidence and I would say, have I got good reason to trust this person?
Right. Yeah, you go ahead living in your little fantasy world where you think an individual who made a business filing statement in the January after the election.
That's not what I'm asking you.
Stop interrupting me.
You're not answering my question.
Don't invite. If you don't like the answer to the questions, don't invite me.
Will
you promise me that?
I promise. If you answer the question I asked,
the answers, don't invite me. Will you promise? Because I don't need LBC. Okay. If you don't like the answers, I'm going over to GB News and Talk TV later tonight. If you don't like the answers, you don't have to bug me, right? I've got lots of things to do.
That I asked, I promise I won't interrupt you, which was, so when Donald Trump just says something, when he says something to you, you just take it as fact and gospel.
This freaking D-bag right here, this host, clearly partisan, clearly a loser. He's like, he has to ask these questions like he's dumbfounded. He doesn't understand. He just said, what, don't you have friends and that you trust? That if you heard something or they said something that you trust them and such? Like, but this person, he has to act like this is a foreign concept to him because his goal is to try to paint Donald Trump as this horrible human being that can't be trusted. So now he has to act like an idiot and be like, duh, so you just trust him? So when he tells you something, you just trust him?
Did I say that?
You said you trust him implicitly.
I do. Did I say What you just said, or are you putting words in my
No,
mouth
I'm
again,
asking.
like she votes Democrat,
That's
which I
it,
didn't
Sebastian. It's
say?
a question.
Why do you do that?
I've just
Why
asked
do
you as a.
you put words in my mouth?
I've just asked you the
I
question.
trust him because I know the man. I've worked for him since
Yeah.
2015. I take a measure of a man, okay, before I work for them. I decided to advise him when he was plain old candidate Trump, and then I decided to work for him as his deputy in the White House. And I support him wholeheartedly. You know why the reason I support him wholeheartedly is, the most obvious reason? Because people like you hate him.
I don't
And
hate
that,
him.
for me, is the best,
Now, now who's
metric,
putting words in his
is
mouth,
the
Sebastian?
best
I don't hate him at all.
metric.
I'm just.
When you are hated by all the right people, you have my support.
So that's why you trust him, because I don't
Yes,
think he's a very good president.
because the establishment and the left-wing crazies hate him, and that's enough for
So
me.
it's not that he's given you reason to trust him. You just don't like the people that don't like him.
So you're putting words in my mouth again.
No, I'm asking you a
Did you take
question.
a class at that? Did I say that? Did I say exclusively? Did I say exclusively?
So-
No.
so
But you've got to stop it. If you want to have a conversation, have a conversation. If you want to score points, go
trying to score
back
points.
to the black pitch, okay, and play rounders, okay?
Rounders?
If you want to score points, pick up the paddle and play rounders, okay?
What's a paddle?
Have you never played rounders?
Play with a bat, don't you? But let's move on. Let's talk about. Let's go back to that question.
Have you ever seen a rounders paddle?
Yeah,
It's
played at school.
round.
Why are we talking about rounders?
There you go,
Mr.
mate.
Gorka?
Try it.
So, what has Donald Trump done in the time that you've known him to prove to you that he's trustworthy?
What has he done? How about take on the establishment, refuse to take a paycheck for 4 years, stand in the breach to create peace across the world, no new wars for 4 years, seal the border, give us the biggest economy since record-keeping began, lowest unemployment for blacks and Hispanics since the 1960s, lowest unemployment for women since, 70 years. How long do you have? Shall I go on?
But those are achievements, aren't they? I'm not saying why do you support him. I'm saying why do you trust
his
him?
Promises.
Why do you think
He said,
he's an
"I'm gonna
honest
crush
individual?"
ISIS," and he did. I like people who keep.
I don't hate him. I don't hate him. But now, why do you think he's a trustworthy individual? But no, I don't hate him. I don't have. I just think he's a bad president. But why do you trust him? Gorka already explained to you. He worked under him. He was around him. He was close to him.
Promises. I don't like people who just come in, make the usual promises and do nothing. You know what? Men who keep their promises, I like them. Maybe you don't. I do.
Can I ask you about Ukraine? Because that's come up quite a lot. What would Donald Trump do in relation to Vladimir Putin and his invasion of Ukraine? What would his policy on that be, Sebastian?
He's already told his listeners, if you watch his rallies, he said day one, he would tell Vladimir Zelensky, you need to negotiate. And then he'd tell Putin, you need to negotiate. And if you refuse, I'm going to give more support to Ukraine than you can ever imagine. So he's going to play hardball, and he's going to get him in a room, and he's going to say, the killing stops now.
But isn't that rewarding Putin for the invasion of Ukraine?
On what planet?
Well, because he would be gaining from the fact that he went into Ukraine, and he would, through the negotiations, gain land that he didn't have before
As
he launched that
opposed to
invasion.
what? Should we drop nukes on Moscow?
No, we should help Ukraine win the war.
Yeah, that's what the president had. Do you know what we did when we were in the White House? Okay, so let's talk about the fact that Ukraine was invaded under Joe Biden a second time. The first time it was invaded was under somebody you may have heard of called Barack Hussein Obama. When Putin invaded the first time, by the way, Obama is a Democrat in case you're not aware. What did Obama do? If you don't believe me, Ben, because you probably don't know, look it up. He sent blankets to Kiev, blankets and night vision goggles. When we arrived in the White House, do you know what we gave to Kiev? Do you have any idea, Ben?
Go on.
No, you don't. Of course you don't. We supplied them Javelin shoulder-launched anti-tank missiles. Not blankets, missiles,
Okay.
which meant for 4 years, interestingly,
Mr. Gorka,
whilst
I've
we
got to
were in
leave
the
it
White
there
House,
because we
Ukraine was. I know you don't like the answers when they're not pleasant, right?
You've had over 50 minutes.
Wow. I love that Sebastian Gorka doesn't mess around. He gets straight to the point and calls out these losers at the loser broadcast channel otherwise known as the LBC, straight to their face. This was only from a few months ago, but is already aged like a fine wine. Now, Gorka needs to go out and do more debates like this because I think he is really good at it and really entertaining as well, as he calls out this high soy, low T loser for the bias partisan hack that he is. Disingenuous twat. But what did you guys think about this clip? Did you think Gorka did a great job? Sound off in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed today's video. I put out 2 videos a day. And if you did enjoy today's video, I got some more goodies on the screen for you to click away and enjoy.